What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 543 of the Fitness Business University podcast. I'm Tom Langton. I'm here with the Vince Gabriele.
Big Tom.
Vince, congratulations.
Congratulations,
man. we want to. Okay, we're gonna do a little preamble here, just to warn everybody, not warn, but let everybody know that's watching and listening, that this episode is gonna be a little bit different today. Okay, today we're recording this on Monday. Thursday is your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks, Tom.
Happy early birthday. We don't have to talk about how old you are because it's a big number. Right? We won't touch on the age. But so this is Vince's birthday episode. Right? So it's going to be a little bit different. Now there's going to be a lot of business lessons in here, but you're kind of a spoiled guy and you kind of get what you want.
Totally.
So we're going to talk about things that you love today to celebrate your birthday.
That's it.
All right, so we're only going to talk about things you love, and we're going to try to spin it to business lessons for all the listeners out there.
No promises.
No promises, but we're going to do our best.
No promises
we're
to
do
any
best.
value of this episode whatsoever, other than making me happy.
We figured rather than having one big topic, the topic is going to be like overall lessons, business lessons that you can pull from things that you love. And the first thing is, we've talked about it for a few episodes building up. I think the timing might be off, because I think we talked to GR before. I don't know when that one's getting released, but the New York Knicks won the NBA championship on Saturday night.
Yes.
53-year drought. New York Knicks won the championship, and it's a big deal for both of us. We both grew up like pissed off Knicks. I always say Michael Jordan ruined my childhood because from the time I can remember, I was a New York Knicks fan. Patrick Ewing was my guy, and I was a Knicks fan, and they went to the finals 2 years when I was a kid. My 8th grade year and my senior year in high school, they lost both. So it's been and all Knicks fans have struggled at different times with not winning a championship.
It is a big, big part of my life and childhood. And
100%.
I can remember, so I often say that my number one childhood memory is going to Madison Square Garden with my dad and watching the games. Like, that is it. If you take one memory I had that makes me feel the best, it's that. And it's funny that my dad used to do this funny thing where back then you had to have paper tickets.
Yeah.
Right. So we would leave the house and you had to have the tickets. And he, halfway through going to the game, he would go like this. And he would like, "You have the tickets?" And I'm like, "No, you said you had the tickets." He's like, "I don't have the tickets." "You got the tickets, right?" And I was like, "I don't have the tickets, Dad." And he's like, "I forgot the tickets. I forgot it." And then we would drive
so he wasn't messing with you?
No, he was joking with me.
Oh, he had them.
Yeah, he had them.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, he used to do it, and he would get me every time because I was so excited to go.
The energy would be high.
There's little things like that are but this nostalgia thing has been on my mind a lot because the other day I took Joey to this is definitely Vince's birthday episode, right? Where I took him to the He-Man movie, which is getting absolutely annihilated in the box office. But I told you this right before we started recording. Never once have I gone and seen a movie in the movie theater twice. I think I'm going to go see He-Man again.
You got to see it again.
It was that good.
But it's nostalgia.
100%.
Right.
And I have this thing about nostalgia, and I wrote a post about this. I'm getting into some value already, so I'm sorry.
Let's go.
I did a post about this to the mastermind, yesterday. And Morgan Housel, do you know Morgan Housel?
No.
He wrote the book called The Psychology of Money, which is a really, really good book.
Okay.
And then another one called The Art of Spending Money. But I think in that book, he says this quote. He says, the purpose of life is to experience things that will one day show up as nostalgia.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's if you think about it, when you think about, your childhood and you think about there's that's why a lot of people even are using, marketers use this all the time. They use nostalgia in marketing. It's a very, very big business.
For sure.
Right? If you think about some brands will use old cereals or old toys and things like that for people that are our age. So they're targeting people in their 40s and 50s using the things that they used to love as a kid. It's really powerful. And I have had this massive wave of nostalgia between the Knicks, between He-Man. But here's the point. I think that, what makes us feel that feeling, right? We experience certain things. And when I think about business, and I think about the times that I look back at my business career, the things that make me feel the best are the things that were the hardest.
100%.
I think about you and me in 2009, working 60 hours a week, grinding every day, just the two of us, not knowing what the fuck we were doing, figuring it out along the way. And like when I think back to the days, those were the days. And those days weren't easy. Those days were really hard. Those days were not nearly as fruitful as my days are today.
For sure.
Right? But I look back on that time and it was the journey. It was, we were working towards something, we were building something. And I think a lot of people look at that process of it being bad, of it's, oh, there's so many challenges, oh, there's so many struggles, oh, but it's really, when you really can pinpoint it, it's like, that's where all the juice lies. Like, why do people that retire, like, get depressed?
They don't have a purpose.
My cousin sold his company, $100 million.
Yep.
Guess what he's doing now? Starting another company.
Right, because he needs something.
He wants to build something.
Right.
And so for those of you that are like frustrated with where you're at, trying to make it work, trying to fly, you're in stage one, you're kind of in the early stages, it's like you're going to look back on the thing that you were building and you're going to look back on that with, so don't like beat yourself up about where you are. It's like, that's the best parts.
For sure. Like, I mean, even the relationships he talked about, like both of our fathers were veterans, and like the relationships they built during the Vietnam War and during the hardest times, like you can't there's no way to duplicate that. Like the friendships they had in there, and like we weren't military veterans. We played football, right? But the friendships that we had playing football, going through these really difficult physical things, like you can't make that up. You can't duplicate that in any other way. Like to know that you got through something with somebody else, and business is the exact same way. The people that like help you get through these hard times, those friendships, those bonds are very, very hard to break. Yeah. So I think you're 100% right. But that's also why I think the Knicks thing for us was like, those were hard times. Like as a fan, being a Knicks fan for the last 40 years, it's been really, really hard to be a Knicks fan. So like this is like, I don't even know what to do now. You know, it's funny because I would say I never really watch much sports. Like I don't watch much sports. And I found myself like after the games, like going on my phone and like looking at these obscure videos and it was. I told myself, I think you said the same thing. They better end it tonight because our sleep schedule's getting all screwed up. Like I'm going on YouTube watching all these videos of like watching Shaq and Barkley, compilations. It's amazing. But let's dive into a couple lessons. The first one I wrote down is hopefully everybody watching this knows a little bit about sports, but if you don't, the Knicks star player is a guy named Jalen Brunson. Okay, so the first thing I wrote down was Jalen Brunson took a $100 million pay cut. $100 million pay, not a pay cut, but he had an opportunity in the NBA. You have an opportunity to sign. It was called the Supermax contract. It was about $250 million contract he could have gotten, and he passed on it to sign like a $150 million contract, which is still a decent amount of money. But you think $100 million is like generational money for his family, right? Yeah. He passed up on that, knowing that they could build a better team if he took the pay cut. Now, if he took that Supermax, he'd be in a good place, but his team, they wouldn't be able to bring in the same players to help him get where he wants to go. The only other time I've heard anything similar to this is Tom Brady did it with the Patriots. Same thing. He would restructure his contract every year to bring pieces. Now, they had the foresight of saying, they're going to make way more. Like Tom Brady makes way more money now than he ever did playing because he's a 7-time Super Bowl champion, right? So like the rest of his life, he's known as a legend. So the endorsements and the companies that he can start, and like Brunson's the same thing. Brunson is never going to pay for a dinner in New York ever again. He's going to be able to be an endorser to any company, anywhere now, because he's an NBA champion. He carried the team. Yes. So his earning, what I was thinking about driving over here was you talk about like the lifetime value. Yeah. Right. So his lifetime value just went up 100-fold. Now he could have taken 2 years ago. He could have taken that $100 million. Sure, that's life-changing money. But his lifetime value now is exponentially bigger because he made a decision to build a team.
Well, and I think too, like the guys at this level, they're making money either way, right? But the thing that matters at this level is winning.
For sure.
Like that's the ultimate thing. If you ask any of these guys at this level, they want to win, and he will give up a lot.
You talk about Shaq and Barkley on the pregame show. Like Barkley hasn't played a game in 30 years, and they still talk about how he never won a championship. Patrick Ewing was like the centerpiece. He was in all these pictures.
Barkley never won?
Barkley never won a champion, and Shaq still gives them shit for it. And Ewing, everybody felt so bad for Ewing for so. Ewing is not in that. When you talk about greatest players, Ewing is not mentioned. Now he was skill-wise, he was just as good as Olajuwon, just as good as Shaq, maybe better, but he's not considered in that upper echelon because no ring. Barkley, same thing.
I often thought about that, and I think the Knicks did a really good job of including Ewing in it. And part of me is like, that's really cool. But part of me almost felt bad for him.
Dude, it made me sad.
It made me sad because it's just like they needed to do this for him. That they were trying to do it for him versus him having his own championship and being. It was like a little like almost bittersweet, I think. But very cool that how they invited him.
But the champion,
and you and me as Ewing fans appreciate.
I loved it, but I still.
You want to hear a funny Ewing story?
Absolutely.
So I was at a club in Atlantic City. And I was in college at the time, and I was like dating a girl.
Is this story appropriate for the podcast? Okay, let's hear it.
So we're in this club, and this was like 2002 or something like that. So I think Ewing was kind of getting done.
Yeah, it was probably toward the end of his career.
Towards the end of his career.
Yeah.
But still, he was a legend to
for
me,
sure.
like huge Knicks fan. And all of a sudden, we're in this club, and Ewing's just sitting in a chair over there. I'm like, holy shit, dude, that's like Patrick Ewing. And we ended up going over and talking to him. And I started talking to Pat about like all the games and stuff. I was like, I was at Game 7 with the Pacers and stuff. And he was talking and being friendly and nice. And I'm with this girl. All of a sudden, the girl I'm with, he starts like flirting, like legitimately flirting with this girl that I was with. And I almost was like, this is actually getting a little bit weird right now.
But if someone's going to steal your girl, might as well let it be Pat Ewing. That's a way better story.
It's funny. So that's my Pat Atlantic City story.
Well, we got to tell the story of, you were talking about your dad earlier.
Yes.
Your dad was a huge Knicks fan. Your Uncle Vinny was a huge Knicks fan. I trained those guys, and literally, we talk about, how do you build relationships with people, is you find commonality. When you're training people, especially one-on-one, that hour can be super, super boring.
Yes.
Right? So I always say sports, movies, music are like, if you got to find a connection with that person to build a relationship.
Yeah.
And I built a relationship with your dad talking about the Knicks and Johnny Cash. And like we would train hours. And I trained him like 3-4 hours a week, just one-on-one. And that's all we talked about was the Knicks, and we played Johnny Cash. But your dad was a huge Knicks guy, and he was there for Charles Oakley.
Yeah, so Charles Oakley, for those of you who don't know, he's a former Knick.
He was Ewing's enforcer.
He was an enforcer. He was like the guy that like you didn't mess with. He wasn't the best player on the court, although he's a pretty good player.
Good player.
But he was like a badass.
Yeah.
And I guess he was this is well after his career ended, but he was at the Madison Square Garden, and apparently he got like drunk. And he's yelling at the owner of the Knicks, a guy named James Dolan. James Dolan.
Yeah.
And he's apparently he was yelling at Dolan. Dolan called security to remove Oakley. Oakley starts a fight with there's like 20 security guards around Oakley, and they have to like pin him on the ground.
And Oakley's still a monster.
Yeah, he's a monster.
6'8", could still play. He's in great shape in his late 50s, probably early 60s.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah, it was a ruckus on court in this courtside. This is like 3 rows deep behind the bench.
Yeah, 3 rows deep. So it's on the news. And all of a sudden, my phone is blowing up about this Oakley thing, and people are like sending me the picture of Oakley getting restrained.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, I get it. Why does everyone keep sending me this picture? Behind the picture, my dad was sitting like right there. It's funny because I watched an Oakley video yesterday, and on the video I saw my dad again.
Sure.
It's like it's just like so
there.
funny.
He was there.
And did someone gave him like a big?
He was there with.
I'm trying to think. I don't know where that is.
He was
right
sitting
now.
with. Who was he sitting with? Mike.
John Macera.
John Macera. That's right. Yeah. And I remember.
John Macera is one of my dad's really good friends.
I remember seeing it on whatever website it popped up on. And all of a sudden I saw you. I was like, holy shit, there's Joey. Joey's sitting cool. I texted your dad. I texted your dad.
Concerned look on his face.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
There was a fight 2 rows away. But I think speaking of courtside, like that's another thing I wrote down that you could take from this is like you look at all these. Well, first of all, you know, we talked about I think the joint venture thing comes into play here, right? You talked about aligning yourself. Think about all these celebrities that jumped on the bandwagon, right? Taylor Swift was sitting courtside. And like Taylor Swift could give a shit about the New York Knicks, but she knew all eyes were going to be on the Garden that night. She got courtside tickets. But there's also celebrities that have been Knicks fans. Spike Lee, Ben Stiller. I texted you this earlier, but like, when was the last good movie Spike Lee made?
Oh, I don't even know.
Right?
I mean, I don't know any. What do you mean, Jungle Fever?
That was in the late 80s. He was very big in the late 80s, early 90s. He made Inside Man, which is a good bank robbery movie.
And, you know, the thing that he was most famous for was the Michael Jordan commercials.
For sure.
It's got to be the shoe.
Yeah, Mars. He was Mars. Yeah.
Mars Blackman.
Yeah, but he has kept himself in, like, the lexicon of, like, culture because he's at every Knicks game, right? And so now Spike Lee comes out with a movie, whether it's good or bad, I can't remember the last good one he came out with, but he has kept himself relevant by aligning himself with the Knicks.
Oh, totally.
Right. So now he's even there's arguments whether he should get a ring or not.
I think he should get a ring.
Right.
Do you think he should get a ring?
Absolutely.
So I'll share something with you, and we can link this back to business too. So the Knicks in '90, I don't remember, it was '94, played the Pacers.
Indiana Pacers. It was 90. It was the year after the championship. You talking about when he got in a fight with Reggie?
Yes.
It was the year after. It was like 95 or 96.
All right. So think about this. So Jimmy Bistis and I were at the game.
Oh, you were there?
We were at
Game
Game
7.
I
I didn't know that.
So here's what happened. So the Knicks were up by like 9 points with like 12 seconds left.
Yep.
To the point where people were leaving, right? And this is back when we didn't have phones, right? And so me and Jimmy were like, all right, dude, we got this locked up. So we leave the game. Oh. The whole game before that, Spike Lee and Reggie were like going at it, right? And Reggie kept yelling at Spike, Spike kept yelling at Reggie, and everyone got mad at Spike because Spike pissed Reggie off. But what Reggie did was Reggie hit 3 threes in a row and ended up winning the game.
Yep.
We got to the parking garage and we heard the game on the radio and saying, and the Knicks fall to the Pacers. And we're like, wait, what?
How is that?
Like, we were 100% sure that the game was a lock, and they ended up losing the game. So the lesson is like, take it to the end. If you think you got something, don't be resting on your laurels here.
But also from a money, like the way I was thinking of it, like there was all these articles and things about Spike Lee, how much, because he's been courtside. He has 2 seats on the court, like feet on the court, has had them since 1993 or 94, right? And they were showing how much money he spent. They said it was something like $17 million in his lifetime on Knicks tickets, right? Because like in 94, it was like $1,000 a seat. So like the whole season was like 80 grand. Now it's up to almost like $500,000 a year that he spends on courtside tickets, right? But if you think about it, like let's say he spent $15 million. The fact that he's kept himself, if Spike Lee came out with a movie this year, people are gonna talk about it just because he's still relevant.
Yes.
So like that money is coming back to him. Same thing as Jalen Brunson, like the lifetime value that he has kept on himself as like, just by aligning himself as he's the #1 Knicks fan.
Now let me ask you this. Do you think he pays for those tickets?
I think he does.
So I heard that Ben Stiller does not pay.
Yeah, well, I think there are celebrities. that like Larry David was there and Jerry Seinfeld. I think they fill that row.
Which I think is important, right?
100%.
I think it's very smart. You think of like what LA, in LA, and obviously LA has way more of those people. So you go to a Laker game and stuff like that. But dude, I guarantee you, more people were engaged, involved in the Knicks series that maybe wouldn't be. I know Vanessa, when Vanessa's watching the game, she's obsessed with like
you're just watching. You're not even watching the game. You're looking at who's courtside.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
And so I think they're doing that for free. I think they're giving those people away. And they're probably no Knicks fans.
Yeah.
But they may have not. Ben Stiller is probably not going to every game.
Oh no, they stocked that whole front section with celebrities. But the Knicks do it all the time. When you're at the game, you see them on the jumbotron. They show you who the celebrities are. It's part of it.
So here's another good example of business. So when the Knicks when we were watching basketball back in the day, the Knicks bench would end with the coach.
Yeah.
Right? So the coach would have the last seat on the bench, and then there was no more chairs. Now, there's a chair, and then there's 7 more chairs after. They're literally sitting on the bench.
Yeah. The coach walks in front of a lot of the celebrities.
Think of how much those seats cost and how much more money the Knicks are making from those seats alone.
For sure.
It's like selling one-on-one personal training at your gym, and everyone else is paying $300, and all of a sudden you get 12 people to pay you $3,000 a month each. That's what it's like.
Yeah.
Unused capacity to the T. I forgot about that.
Did you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever see the one where Larry David tripped Shaq?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so he was in those seats and he tripped Shaq. But yeah, that's like, think about and we talk about it with like the local celebrities, right? Having local celebrities in your gym. Now, we talked about her probably once an episode, but Kathy Balsama for us was a local celebrity. Bringing her into our gym, and then people seeing our gym from her eyes changed the shape of this business completely, right?
Yes.
Now she wasn't Spike Lee, but in this town she might as well have been, right? I wrote down this too, like when you first opened the GL football team, the local high school football team, right? Now you got really lucky that there was a really good group of seniors that were coming through, but you happened to train them the year they played for the state championship. So now you were the reason they were there, and
we got the game ball.
Right, that's what I'm saying is like now how much that had to do with your high level training at the time, who knows? But you aligned yourself with these celebrities, and that made you a local celebrity because of.
And that trickled down to like the youth program.
100%.
The youth program respects what the high school team is doing, and then.
But also built the adult program. Think about how many of those kids' parents trained with us, how many of those kids' siblings trained with us. Like that built your name in the town.
And the other celebrity that came to us was your boy Cramer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Tell that story. So
Jim, well, you told the story in the mastermind. You told it wrong. I never called you.
Did I tell it wrong?
Yeah, well, kind of. Jim Cramer from Mad Money was a good friend of one of our longtime clients, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike. And Mike walked in one day. They were like he usually was, like 2 or 3 minutes late to class. And he walked in and he's like, I'm bringing my friend. And he walked in with Jim Cramer, and everybody recognized them right off the bat. Now, the one thing we said was, hey, you just got to fill out a health history form before you come in. So he's in the lobby filling out the health history form, and we already started the warm-up. Next thing you know, he walks back, jumps in the warm-up, and I forget who was working the desk. I don't think it was Ellen, I can't remember, but they walked back and they handed me the health history form, and it was every injury you could possibly imagine. So I'm trying to do the warm-up looking at like 7 herniated discs and this, and like both, and I'm like, well, what the hell am I gonna do with it? And this is a large group class. We probably had like 25 people in there, and we're just throwing this celebrity who's the most jacked up dude in the world.
Right, but he's a legit celebrity. I mean, he's worldly known.
Like when he walked in the gym, everybody in the room knew exactly who he was. Everybody knew exactly who he was. So then I had to spend the next hour I basically gave him a one-on-one personal training session while 20 other people were training around us because he was so jacked up. Eventually we got him out of the group class and we put him, but that one day, we kept him there. Well,
and then he gave us a bunch of shout outs. Like he did a testimonial video for us. Mm-hmm. He did a YouTube video. He would share. We'd have Twitter back then, but he would share us on Twitter and tweet that he was coming to Gabriele Fitness. Actually, his testimonial goes, "I'm Jim Cramer from Mad Money. What does he say? He goes, I thought I would never have a pain-free day in my life, but thanks to Gabriele Fitness, I think it's just magical and mystical, but it's just Gabriele.
That's right.
Now I can do it.
That's right.
But he did this unbelievable testimonial. But it helped a lot because we also got a lot of respect from other financial guys because there's a lot of very uber successful financial people if Cramer thinks it's good. Because I think that's why do people use celebrities in marketing? Because people look at what a celebrity recommends to a much higher degree.
For sure.
Like if Shaq tells you to do icy hot, you're probably going to do icy hot. You know what I'm saying? Because Shaq says it's good.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a
powerful piece. It's like the ultimate third party endorsement.
If they can get that. Yeah. I want to talk about Jalen Brunson.
We'll go back to Brunson.
Yeah. So when the so the Spurs have this guy named Victor Wembanyama, right? And he's like, literally, they call him what's called a generational player, right? That he is going to be one of the best players to ever play basketball because of his freakish
his size plus his ability. No one's ever seen the combination.
Combination of how he moves, how he can shoot. I mean, even Ewing was a good outside shooter, but he never shot.
Not on this level, no.
Right. So he's like an absolute freak. They call him the alien.
The alien.
Right?
He's 22 years old.
He's 22 years old. He's 7'4". He's from France, and he's like a freak. So he's a good player. I watched him. They beat OKC in the Western Conference Finals, and I watched how he celebrated, and I was like, the Knicks are going to win this series. You can ask anyone in my family. I was like, I'm watching the game, and I'm just like, I guarantee you the Knicks win because of that.
Because of what?
I think that he got so overjoyed and so happy and celebrated for winning and getting to the finals that they essentially exhausted themselves to get there.
They were just happy to be there.
Whereas I look at Jalen Brunson on the flip side, and if you look at Jalen Brunson's face when they won the Eastern Conference Finals, it was not a smirk, not a smile. It was all business. He's like, we have 4 more games to win.
Yeah.
And I saw the difference of this over-emotional kid and this man, right? This man that was just like, we were going to win this thing, and I'm not going to rest, and I'm not going to smile, and I'm not going to do anything until we do. And I 100% believe that Wemby made a lot of those mistakes and I mean, he's a great player, right? And he'll be one of the best ever.
Yeah.
But I believe that that man will need to control his emotions. He's 22 years old, so he has time. But I believe a lot of the mistakes he made was an inability to control his emotions, and I saw it in the way he celebrated.
Yeah. I think it goes back to the way they built the Knicks team versus the way they built the Spurs team. Now, like you said, the Spurs team was very, very young. And when we had GR on the podcast, he was saying there were a bunch of kids, super, super talented kids. And everyone keeps saying the same thing, like, if they can keep this team together, they're going to win 10 championships. Because they're all in their early 20s. And like the talent level is crazy.
Right. Yeah.
The Knicks got a lot of heat. If you go back a couple of years and listen to like the experts saying there was no real superstar. Even Brunson was not considered a superstar. And they had brought in all these role players and guys that did all the little.
How?
What's that?
That he's not considered a superstar?
Because he's small or whatever. Everyone said that he was not even a top 10 point guard, right? There was a lot of experts that said that. Experts, like ESPN talking head type people. They also talked about how all these free agents they were spending that extra money on were just role players, and they didn't really have an elite scorer. They didn't have an elite this. They didn't have an elite that. And the Spurs had the biggest guy ever, most skilled guy ever, but the Knicks were able to overcome it because of all the little. So when you talk about like building a team,
oh yeah.
sometimes it's like, because I was thinking about the SBF Facebook group, and people will post problems they have and questions they have and things like that. All the gym owners, the number one thing people ask is about like, I have this employee, this trainer who is awesome, and the clients love him, but he's an asshole. That's like the number one thing. Like, I don't know what to do with this person because he's really good at this thing, but the culture, he ruins the culture, or she ruins the culture.
Yeah.
That's a really common problem to have. And like how much more important the culture is. That's what the Knicks had. The Knicks had this culture of like, we're not going to give up. We're going to fight. Everyone's going to do their job. So in my mind, that reminded me of that, of like, you have a superstar, but it doesn't fit the culture. What do you do with that?
Yeah. No, I think that's, I'm trying to think of what they call it. They call it, EOS calls it the 4 people issues. That they're, so the first one is they're a good culture fit, and they are good at what they do. Mm-hmm. Basically, they're good on the, I'm trying to think of what the term they use, but they're basically a good cultural fit, and they're good on the floor. Like, so if a trainer was in this category, they would be like a really good culture fit, and they're like a really, really good trainer. Okay? The second one is they're a culture fit, but they're not good at their job.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one, right? And then what they usually say is, if someone is a cultural fit, you kind of have this obligation to that person that is a cultural fit to try to find them another place in the company. Right? To not just say, all right, this person just isn't that good, so we're going to fire them, versus they're a cultural fit. Where can we put them? Is there another place in the business that we can put this person? And sometimes it doesn't work, Sometimes it does. Sometimes there's another role. Sometimes someone has a skill set that is really good, and you didn't even know they had it. Like Andres, who's filming these podcasts for us. Like, I didn't know when we hired him that he had a skill set with social media.
Yeah.
And he's doing a phenomenal job. But like sometimes these skill sets that people have are totally hidden. But it's kind of like you want to find a place for that person. The third one this is the tough one, right? They're really good at what they do. The clients love this person, but they're a complete dick.
Yeah, and
right? They're not a cultural fit.
That might be one of the biggest issues that we hear about
Yes.
in the SPF.
Yep. And here, I'm dealing with it right now with somebody. We just had a call with somebody.
Not at Gabriele Fitness. This is
not at
Jim.
Gabriele Fitness.
Okay.
No, on a.
I was going to say, Andres is sitting right here.
On a SPF call, but the answer is almost always to fire them. Like almost 100% of the time, because why isn't someone a cultural fit? Is it because you didn't explain your core values to them, or are they just kind of like not a fit because you hired a person that was possibly not as high of a character person as you could have, right? And that's not going to change.
Well, I mean, in basketball is different, where if they don't have the skill set, it's hard to teach someone at that level to be a great player.
Right.
Right. In this business, you can make someone a better coach.
Oh my God.
Right. Like it doesn't take you that long. We're not launching.
We're
not launching spaceships, right? You can teach someone to be a pretty good trainer.
Yes.
If they're a great cultural fit and you're willing to put in the work to make that. We saw it. We hired a lot of young trainers that we made really good. It just took a little bit more work and a little bit more time, but they were great cultural fits. Mm-hmm. If someone's a really good coach, you're not going to make them, like, it's really hard to, and if you are going to make them a cultural fit, it very, very rarely happens the other way around.
And so 9 times out of 10, this is what I told the person the other day. You're going to have to fire this person. I told them that. And people they kind of like when you say that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just the decisions made.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why that's the beauty of getting outside counsel. Right. The beauty of that, I have no emotion. I have no emotion attached to that business. Right. I want them to win, and I'll do anything to help that business win. But I'm not the one that's going home at night losing sleep that I have to fire somebody. And so for me, it's very easy to see what decision needs to be made. And if someone is a bad cultural fit because they're spreading rumors, because they're doing, they're talking shit on the owners to the clients,
that's a big one. Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, they don't know what it's like around here. Oh, we're not getting paid enough, like that kind of crap. Like that ain't gonna change. But this one challenge was they were this person was very connected, meaning they were a very good trainer, and they were the most loved of all the trainers that they had by the customers. The problem was the owner was very disconnected from the business, meaning the owner had almost no relationships with anybody. And I believed if we made that move immediately, that it would have been a massive exodus. And so we had to create a plan of saying, okay, the decision is made. We're doing this.
Just wait.
But just not right now.
Yeah.
And you need to do this and this and this and this in the next few months to be able to make things better while you're there, to get back in there and get involved, start knowing some people before you cut this trainer loose and everyone leaves.
That's tough.
So it's not always the right decision to do it right away. It almost always is. Almost always.
A bad culture. So a bad culture.
A bad cultural fit. It's just what is the Peter Drucker quote? Like, a culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Without a doubt.
It's just like you have and I look at our team here at GFP. You were here in the heyday when we had an unbelievable culture. We've had a few. We had we're in business 19 years. We had a run of about 1.5 years where I could say I wasn't proud of the culture. And it was the worst we ever did as a business.
Business-wise, too.
Business-wise, yeah, for sure. So and again, you don't want to be an owner of a business that you're not proud of the culture. Like, it's a really, really, and I remember walking through my gym and not being proud of it. It was a horrible feeling. Yeah. An absolutely horrible feeling.
But I think this business, the fitness business, is one where you can make someone better. If they're when you talk like the skill set, like, this person, I mean, you say it all the time of when you hired me, there was a dude who was way, way, way better than me. And probably still is way better than me.
Yeah.
But I was just a better cultural fit. You know what I mean? It's like that was, but If you can, if
Yeah,
you're
it's
willing
hire
to put
for
in
character, train for skill.
100%.
Yes, 100%.
100%. Yeah. I think the Wemby, you talk about Wemby, the Wemby thing, the one I wrote down was accountability. Like, he did not want to take a lot of accountability for what was happening. Like, if you look at the post-game interviews and things like that, he was not really saying, a really big-time superstar, Kobe Bryant, a guy like this who was, and again, he's young and maybe he can learn this and like he can improve the culture, his cultural fit.
Yeah.
But he was not willing to say, I didn't play great tonight. He was just kind of, pushing off the responsibility.
Yeah, maybe it's a language thing too. Because that's not his
first language.
His first language. So he definitely says words. And like, I remember he said, after one interview, he said something along the lines of, my head was cloudy. Or he said something along the lines of, my head is confused or something like that. And this was after the game one. And Shaq went off on him because you don't let your opponent know that that's kind of what you're going through. It's it's great seeing these guys. So I think this guy is he's a very, very young person and hopefully he will learn. But that was the big thing that I saw with the emotion and Jalen Brunson's ability to control his emotions. And I think that's so important in business. It's like your ability to control your emotions and have this term that I call lowest heart rate. Have you ever heard me talk about this?
Yeah.
So if you haven't heard me talk about this before, but I read this book called Scream-Free Parenting. Mm-hmm. And the premise of the book is your job as a parent is to keep your heart rate lower than your child. Yeah. And if you can keep your heart rate lower than your child, you're going to do okay. And I think the same thing goes in business. Like if you're meeting with a staff member or you're meeting with a customer and you're all whacked out and all worked up about it, you're probably not going to make as good of decisions as you need to make, right? And so as you're going through your business life, keeping your emotions in check and keeping your heart rate low and your heart rate down your life is shaped by the decisions you make.
For sure.
And so you'll make better decisions when you keep your emotions, in check.
But I think that goes for highs and lows too. I think that's the one thing is like you saw with the Spurs, they would get so excited like they're up by 30 points and they just started patting themselves on the back. Yeah. They blew a big lead.
Right.
The Knicks, it didn't matter if they were up big or down big or whatever. It was like they were consistent, right? The Spurs would have these drastic highs. I mean, there's videos of Wemby talking trash and, I'm in your head. But then as soon as it got bad, it was a roller coaster. Yeah. And the Knicks were able just to keep it level and just control their emotions.
Yeah.
But,
no, beautiful.
Anything else on the Knicks?
I talked about Reggie Miller. I talked about the last thing. I want to go full circle on the thing I talked about in the very beginning, which was the nostalgia thing and the feeling that you had. And I want to kind of shine the light on this business. I'm working with a guy that is one of the most famous copywriters on the planet right now. And he worked with a guy named Gary Halbert. He's like a very, very well-known, famous guy. And I'm working with him in a coaching role right now. And he asked to see our testimonials. And I showed him our testimonials from the website. And he was like, this is incredible. He's like, I've never seen testimonials like this for a business mastermind or anything like that. And so he started just going down the rabbit hole of the impact that our business is having on gym owners' lives. And then I started to explain to him that it's not even about the gym owners. We're helping gym owners so they can help their customers. I got into this with you and I to help people get healthy. Mm-hmm. And I'm still doing that. We're just doing it to help gym owners make better businesses. They can help more people in their community. And I think sometimes people underestimate the value and importance of being successful in business. There are people in this gym, there are people at gyms in Ohio, there's people at gyms in California whose lives have been saved because of a little 2,000 square foot gym.
For sure.
That their lives have been saved, their lives have been changed. And I think of all the professions, I mean, I'm sure there's others out there that are better, but I think about the amount of purpose and meaning that comes into the life of a gym owner from just running their business is way bigger than I ever imagined. And what's his name? I always remember Viktor Frankl. So Viktor Frankl has a book called Yes to Life. It's a really small book, and his more famous book is called Man's Search for Meaning.
Yes.
Very famous guy. The short story is he was a prisoner in a Nazi concentration camp, ended up escaping, and then did lectures on how he was able to survive when everyone else around him died. Okay? He basically has this whole thing about meaning, and he says you can get meaning in life from 3 ways. The first way is the relationships you have. So if you think about the meaning and the fulfillment that you get from life, it's not stuff.
Yeah.
It's people. There's a relationship. I remember sitting with you. I mean, I had a nostalgia moment with you. We got kind of reconnected in the last couple of years, right? With you coming and starting and helping out SPF and doing the MC. And you and I sat in that restaurant in Orlando, and we had sushi, and it was just you and me.
Yeah.
We sat there for 4 hours, got hammered. It was like ate food, and there was not a break in the conversation, not once.
For sure.
And we talked about old stuff. We talked about like the feeling that I had after that was absolutely incredible, right? So relationships are huge. What are you doing when you're creating relationships with people? You're creating relationships with staff. That gives you meaning. That gives you purpose. The second thing is the things that you bring to the world. So the things that you create, that brings meaning. So what are you doing? You're creating a business. You're creating success stories. You're creating careers. There's so many things that you're creating from opening a gym. The third one is this. It is your reactions in the times of struggle. It is how you do and how you respond and how you react when things get hard. That's what brings meaning to your life. And so if you think about the times that you were most proud of yourself, probably the times that were the hardest.
100%.
And so if we roll those 3 together, if we say, all right, meaning in life comes from these 3 things: relationships, the work you bring to the world, and how you respond in times of struggle, that's being a damn gym owner.
There we go.
It's like what we do, it's like wrapped up. And so like I think people get like, it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do. You know it. You've done it. You've lived it with me for 12 years, but then you did it on your own. So I know you know what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's fucking worth it, dude. It really is. It is really worth it to do the work that we're doing because it's going to bring meaning to your life, but think about what spreads to all the other people that you're helping. And so I think that, man, this is, and I think now, and we're going to talk about the future a lot in the next couple months and years, but I don't think there's a better time to be a gym owner. I really don't. I think that the future is so bright for brick and mortar. I think the future is so bright for community-based, relationship-based businesses that people are going to be craving it with all the stuff happening with artificial intelligence and automation and all this stuff. People are going to crave a great place. We're seeing it. GFP has grown a net almost 30 members in the past 4 months.
That's awesome.
We've had more growth in the last 4 months than we did all of last year. And so I think that this is the start of it. Now, is it going to be easy the whole time? No way. But man, with the amount of meaning and the amount of value that is brought to, I had a call with a guy who his full-time job is a CPA, and he also owns a gym. You know what his number 1 priority is?
Gym.
Not being a CPA anymore and being able to make enough money at his gym so he can do this. I was like, why do you want to do it? He's like, don't you make more money as a CPA? He's like, I make a lot more money as a CPA. He's like, but the emotions and the feelings and the pride I get from running my gym eclipses anything I could do as a CPA.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys that are home and you're struggling and you're like having a tough time, and that's part of the game. And understand that is bringing meaning to your life, to be able to have that struggle and to come out on the other side and to be able to look back. Honestly, the most proud I ever was of myself is when I took care of my mom and dad when they were dying. That was the most proud, and that was the hardest time of my life.
Yeah.
But I look back and it was the most proud of myself, my wife, my kids. It was the most proud I ever was of myself and my family. The hardest times. So the hard times are what's going to create the great memories and the great feelings and the confidence and the belief in yourself. But this is my message back to anyone that's fighting and struggling tooth and nail, like, make this work. this is a worthy profession to make work. It's worth the time. It's worth the energy. Go win.
Dude, that's nice. I like it. We're going to end on that. But if someone watching this is struggling right now, Vince's huge giveaway.
Oh, yeah. You got one day.
This is, so we're going to release this.
We're going to release this on June 18th.
On June 18th. You have one more day.
June 19th at 10 p.m. is the cutoff.
Are the applications still coming in?
Applications are still coming in. A lot. Actually, we're getting a lot right now. And they're absolutely amazing. But yes, if you go to Vince's Huge Giveaway or go click the link in the show notes, you can apply. At the release of this podcast, which is June 18th, June 19th at 10 p.m. is the last day to fill out your application for the sweepstakes.
And I urge you, people that are applying, to put some time into it. The same passion that you just talked to us with, like tell your story. Tell your story. Like take the time. This is a big deal to get this. Take your time. Tell us your story. We want to hear it. We want to know what's going on. Vince's Huge Giveaway. Knicks are NBA champions.
Knicks are NBA champions.
He-Man's in the box office. Like, what a time to be alive, Vince.
Dude, I'm going to go...
watch it again?
I'm totally going to watch it again. It was so good. It was amazing.
You've talked me into it, man. But no, I'm going to have to go see it.
Should go.
Vince, have a great day.
You too, Tom.
Thanks for listening to FBU Podcast. Guys, if you got anything out of this episode, do us a favor. Hit that like button, share this episode with another fitness business owner, and subscribe to our channel. Every one of those clicks help us out a lot. And don't forget, visit vincegabriel.com for tons of free resources. There are books, downloads, everything a fitness business owner could need. Thanks again. Have a great day.